Hi. I was thinking of doing a recap of the series about tones, so highlighting certain things that I missed out. So stay tuned. So this, in case you're wondering, is a Chinese cookie called the love letter. Chinese New Year is around the corner, so in Singapore, this is what you get when you go visiting your relatives, you know. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's made of eggs, flour, sugar, whole lot of it. Not too good. Different guitars will affect the way you play. A Gibson is opposed to a Strat, as opposed to a Tally. And of course, different make of guitars, you know. Some guitars with fast neck would make it easier for you to do ambitious things, you know, experimental things, and going notes where you normally would not go. A guitar with not too fast a neck would limit your playing style to a certain way. But of course, if that guitar has a certain sound, you will, of course, will play in a certain way. And of course, it affects your tone, definitely. A Gibson would sound very different from a Stratocaster. A Stratocaster would sound different from a Telecaster, and vice versa. So you get a picture. That goes the same with amps. You know, a Marshall amp, a Fender Twin, as opposed to a Vox, as opposed to an Orange amp, they all have different tonal qualities in it. And the amps itself, with the effects, you know, plus the effects, will make you play in a certain way too. You know, I find myself drawn to the JCM, the Marshall JCM 800, because I like just like how creamy it sounds with the tubes and everything, with its distortion. You know, I just love the way it feels. You know, I love the way it sounds. You know, and I play a certain way. You know, but with the twin reverb, you know, I tend to play in a different way too, because it has this totally different quality to it. And of course, if I'm faced with a Vox amp, you know, I'll play in a certain way too. My Langley at the back of me, you know, this is the one that's made in the UK, and this is tube driven, and it you know, it's a different amp altogether. It makes me play in a different way. So is the Fender DeVille. You know, every time I play on that amp, it just brings joy in my heart, and I'll play in a different way too, and my tone will change accordingly. So the guitar amps will also affect the way you sound. Now, one of the best ways to improve on your tone is by listening intently to what you're playing. And one of the ways to do it is to record yourself. You can either do this through a digital audio workstation or just a simple, even to a handphone on stage, you know. But I don't think that really works because, you know, there's limitations to it. you know, find a way to record your guitar playing. When I was playing on stage back in the days, I would get my FOH, my front of house engineer, to record this whole set every night. You know, sometimes we were playing like 2 sets a night, and I would record both sets, and I would bring the cassettes home, and I would like listen to the tape and listen to myself, and kind of like analyze, how do I sound? Am I too sharp? You know, am I too boomy? Are my mid-range okay? Am I cutting through? So all these things, I sit at home and I'll just listen to it and kind of make a mental note. So the next day when I go onto the stage, you know, onto the club, I'll just tweak accordingly. So in addition to that, you have to understand that when you're playing with a band, you have to make sure that you are comfortable with how your guitar sound like with the rest of the instruments in the band. You know, you have drums, you're gonna have another guitarist, the bassist, the low frequency, the keyboards, you know, and you are actually in a constant I won't say battle, but you know, it's a constant competition of sorts. You know, you compete against the rest of the instruments, so you have to make sure that you hear yourself and decide for yourself where does the guitar sit in everything. So like I said, and the best way to do it is to have someone record your set, and you can take a listen to it. But what I'm talking about here is like, you know, on stage, you know, at that moment, you know, when you're hearing the whole band, and if you're not using IEMs, or even if you're using IEMs, you know, where is your guitar? You know, where is it sitting? Is it sitting comfortably in your ears? Are you hearing what you're playing? You know, do you like what you're hearing? And if not, make micro adjustments on stage. You know, that's what I usually do. Yeah. So the last thing to note is when you're doing toning, especially nowadays when you have like amp modelers and stuff like that. And a lot of times we do our tone setup at home, you know, in front of our monitor speakers. And I do that all the time before I do a show. So especially when I have a new guitar, I would create a different patch for that guitar. For example, the Tally or the roasted maple, you know, I would create a different patch for them because every guitar sounds different. But when I'm doing that at home in the studio, with my studio monitors, and as I tone it, you know, I get fatigued. You know, I get tired. My ears get tired, and I have to be very careful of that and try to play at a reasonable level, not too loud, because if it's too loud, you get tired really easily. And I know when I'm toning with a tired pair of ears. If, for example, I come back like 2 or 3 days later and I check back on the tone and I go like, wow, it's really sharp. So I knew that I was tired then. So I have to reshape again. And it's always a good practice to blow your ears before you do anything, because you know, sometimes your ear get clogged up, and then pop goes everything, you know, and then wow, you can hear all this frequency, and then you go, I'm actually toning it really sharp. So making a note that when you're toning, when you're adjusting your tone on your guitar or your effects or whatever, your amps, whatever you're using, be very careful about that. Ear fatigue is something that is the bane for most musicians. You know, when I'm recording a session, when I'm doing a recording at home, I make it a point to keep it at a reasonable level. But sometimes, you know, you get tired and you just want to hear yourself, and the level just kind of creep up. And after a while, your ears are shot, you know, and you have to like take a couple of half an hour's rest before you can recover back to your normal hearing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe to this channel, please feel free to go ahead. I hope you enjoy this whole series about tones. It's a really interesting journey for me as a guitarist, so I hope it'll be the same for you. So till the next time, I'll catch you. 恭喜发财!